The 19th century was the era when nationalism truly took root and began to reshape the political map of Europe. Following the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars, the continent was plunged into a period of profound transformation. Nationalism, which had begun as an intellectual movement among a relatively small number of thinkers and activists, quickly spread to the masses and became one of the dominant political ideologies of the age. During this period, nationalist movements emerged across Europe, each with its own unique characteristics and goals, but all driven by a common desire for self-determination, political independence, and national unity. One of the first and most influential nationalist movements of the 19th century was the Italian Risorgimento, or the movement for the unification of Italy. For centuries, Italy had been divided into numerous small states, many of which were under the control of foreign powers such as Austria and Spain. The idea of a united Italy had been proposed by intellectuals and writers as early as the 18th century, but it was not until the early 19th century that the movement gained momentum. The Risorgimento was a complex and multifaceted movement that involved a variety of political, social, and cultural forces. Key figures in this movement included Giuseppe Mazzini, Count Camillo di Cavour, and Giuseppe Garibaldi. Mazzini, a fervent nationalist and Republican, founded the political organization Young Italy in 1831, which aimed to promote Italian unification and republicanism. His vision of a united Italy was based on the principles of democratic governance and national self-determination. Mazzini's ideas inspired many Italians, but he was often viewed as too radical by more conservative elements of the movement. Count Camillo di Cavour, the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Piedmont-Sardinia, played a crucial role in the political and diplomatic aspects of Italian unification. Unlike Mazzini, Cavour was a pragmatic politician who sought to achieve unification through diplomacy and strategic alliances. His efforts were instrumental in securing the support of France in the Second Italian War of Independence against Austria, which resulted in the liberation of Lombardy and the strengthening of Piedmont-Sardinia's position in Italy. Giuseppe Garibaldi, a charismatic military leader and nationalist, became one of the most famous figures of the Risorgimento. His campaign in southern Italy, known as the Expedition of the Thousand, led to the liberation of Sicily and Naples from Bourbon rule. Garibaldi's achievements were instrumental in bringing about the unification of Italy. In 1861, the Kingdom of Italy was officially proclaimed, with Victor Emmanuel II as its first king. The unification process was completed with the annexation of Rome in 1870, which became the capital of the new Italian state. The Italian Risorgimento was not just a political movement. It also involved the cultural renaissance that helped to foster a sense of Italian identity. Italian intellectuals, artists, and writers contributed to the development of a shared national culture and language. The efforts of these individuals helped to create a sense of unity among Italians and played a crucial role in the success of the unification movement. In Germany, the nationalist movement also gained momentum during the 19th century. Like Italy, Germany was a patchwork of independent states and principalities, loosely organized under the Holy Roman Empire and later the German Confederation. The idea of German unification had been advocated by various intellectuals and political leaders, but it was not until the mid-19th century that the movement gained significant traction. The key figure in the German nationalist movement was Otto von Bismarck, the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Prussia. Bismarck was a skilled diplomat and politician who used a combination of diplomacy, military force, and political maneuvering to achieve German unification. His strategy involved creating a series of conflicts with neighboring countries, including Denmark, Austria, and France, which helped to rally German-speaking peoples around the cause of unification. The first step in Bismarck's strategy was the Danish War of 1864, in which Prussia, allied with Austria, defeated Denmark and gained control of the duchies of Schleswig and Holstein. This was followed by the Austro-Prussian War of 1866, which resulted in a decisive Prussian victory and led to the dissolution of the German Confederation. In its place, Bismarck established the North German Confederation, a political and military alliance dominated by Prussia. The final step in the unification process was the Franco-Prussian War of 1870 to 1871. Bismarck used the war to unite the North German Confederation with the southern German states, which had previously been reluctant to join the movement. The war ended with a decisive Prussian victory, and the Treaty of Frankfurt, signed in 1871, resulted in the proclamation of the German Empire. The new empire was a federal state with the King of Prussia, Wilhelm I, as its emperor. The unification of Germany was a major achievement of 19th-century nationalism and marked the emergence of Germany as a major European power. While the Risorgimento and German unification were major achievements of 19th-century nationalism, other nationalist movements across Europe also played important roles in shaping the political landscape of the continent. In Eastern Europe, the rise of nationalism was often linked to the struggle for independence from the Ottoman Empire, the Russian Empire, and the Austro-Hungarian Empire. For example, in Greece, the War of Independence 1821 to 1829 led to the establishment of an independent Greek state after centuries of Ottoman rule. Greek nationalists, inspired by the ideals of the Enlightenment and the example of other nationalist movements, fought for their right to self-determination and the revival of their ancient cultural heritage. In the Austro-Hungarian Empire, nationalist movements among various ethnic groups sought to gain greater autonomy or independence. The empire was a multi-ethnic state with significant populations of Germans, Hungarians, Czechs, Slovaks, Serbs, and other groups. The Compromise of 1867, which created the dual monarchy of Austria-Hungary, was an attempt to address the demands of Hungarian nationalists for greater self-governance. However, it did not fully satisfy the aspirations of other ethnic groups, leading to ongoing tensions and demands for greater autonomy. In Russia, the rise of nationalism was closely linked to the policies of Tsarist autocracy and the struggle for national independence among various ethnic groups within the empire. The Decembrist Revolt of 1825, led by Russian army officers who sought to establish a constitutional monarchy, was an early expression of nationalist and reformist sentiments. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the rise of pan-Slavism, which sought to unite Slavic peoples under a single political and cultural entity, was a significant factor in Russian nationalism. The Russian Empire's involvement in the Balkans and its support for Slavic independence movements in the region were driven by both nationalist and geopolitical considerations. Nationalism also had a profound impact on the political and social dynamics of Western Europe. In France, the legacy of the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars continued to influence political developments throughout the 19th century. The rise of nationalist sentiments was reflected in the political struggles of the Third Republic, which faced challenges from both conservative and radical forces. The Dreyfus Affair, a major political scandal in the late 19th century, exposed deep divisions within French society and highlighted the role of nationalism in shaping public opinion and political discourse. The spread of nationalism in Europe during the 19th century was not without its challenges and conflicts. Nationalist movements often faced opposition from established political authorities, foreign powers, and rival nationalist groups. The quest for national unity and independence sometimes led to violent conflicts and wars, as well as tensions between different ethnic and political groups within multi-ethnic states. Despite these challenges, nationalism continued to gain momentum throughout the 19th century and laid the foundation for significant political and social changes in the 20th century. The rise of nationalist movements contributed to the reshaping of national boundaries, the emergence of new states, and the redefinition of political identities across Europe. As the 19th century drew to a close, the stage was set for the next phase of nationalist development, which would be characterized by new challenges and transformations.